My fiancé is crowdsourcing our marriage decisions through a secret real-time betting app. It sounds like a joke, right? Like something out of a bad sitcom. Except it's not. It's my life. And it's currently unraveling faster than a cheap sweater. Seriously, if you're connecting with the sheer absurdity of this, the raw, messy truth of it all, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. Give this a like. Share it with anyone who's ever felt blindsided by life, or by the person they thought they knew best. And leave a comment. I need to know I'm not the only one who's ever felt this level of betrayed, utterly and completely gutted. My name is Liam, or it was Liam. I'm not sure who I am anymore. I'm sitting in my beat-up Ford F-150, parked on the curb outside what used to be our house, the one we were supposed to be fixing up, planning our future in. It's 3 in the morning. The streetlights cast long, distorted shadows that look like grasping fingers across the dew-slicked lawn. Inside, the lights are off. Sarah's asleep, or pretending to be. She always was good at that, pretending. That's the real currency in our relationship, I guess. And I just found out she's been spending it with strangers. I used to think Sarah was my rock, my calm in the storm, my everything. We met at a dive bar trivia night in college, of all places. I spilled my beer on her, a cheap domestic lager that I'd probably bought with my last $5. She didn't even flinch, just laughed, this rich, throaty sound that I swear echoed in my chest for weeks. She had this way of looking at you, like she saw right through all the bullshit, all the noise, and found the real you underneath. I was hooked like a damn marlin. We dated for 6 years. 6 years of late-night talks, road trips with questionable playlists, fighting over who got the last slice of pizza, and making up with a ferocity that left us breathless. She was a graphic designer, brilliant and creative, with an eye for detail that I, a software engineer who lived in the land of algorithms and sterile code, desperately admired. She could take the abstract and make it tangible, beautiful. I could take a problem and make it disappear, or at least make it computationally manageable. We were a team, the perfect pairing. The house was our big move, our next step, a fixer-upper in a quiet suburb about 40 minutes outside the city. It had good bones, Sarah always said, running her hand over the peeling wallpaper in the hallway, her eyes sparkling with visions of what it could be. We'd spend weekends scraping, painting, laying tile. It was exhausting, frustrating work sometimes, like that time we tried to install a ceiling fan and ended up showering the living room in drywall dust for 3 hours. We'd collapse onto the couch, covered in grime, laughing until our sides hurt. Those were the moments I cherished. The shared struggle, the shared triumph, the building of something. Not just the house, but us. The ring. That was my masterpiece. Months of planning, of sneaking around, of trying to guess her ring size from her other rings, which apparently wasn't as foolproof as I'd thought. I'd proposed on the porch of the new house, under a sky thick with stars, the air smelling of freshly cut grass and the faint, distant hum of cicadas. She cried, I cried. We were going to be married. My God, we were going to be married. The wedding planning was intense. Sarah was in her element. Mood boards, color palettes, Pinterest boards overflowing with meticulously curated images. She wanted everything to be perfect, and I let her. I wanted her to have the fairy tale. My contribution was mostly financial, and trying to keep the guest list from spiraling into 100 cousins neither of us had seen since childhood. It started subtly. Little things. Sarah spending more time on her phone. Excuses about work deadlines, about urgent client requests. She'd always been dedicated to her job, but this felt different, more secret. She'd get a notification, her face would freeze for a second, then a tiny, almost imperceptible smile would flicker across her lips. She'd become more withdrawn, her answers to my questions clipped, her gaze often drifting, as if she was somewhere else entirely. I chalked it up to wedding stress. It's a common trope, right? Bridezillas and all that. I told myself I was being too sensitive, too needy. I was just a guy. What did I know about the pressures of planning a wedding down to the last detail? I tried to be supportive, to give her space. I'd bring her coffee in bed, rub her shoulders when she looked overwhelmed, tell her, it's going to be amazing, babe. Whatever you decide, it's going to be perfect. Then came the betting. Not on the wedding, not directly. That would have been weird, but at least understandable. No, this was different. It was on us, on our future. I found out by accident, of course. That's how most of the really devastating things in life seem to happen, isn't it? By accident. I was looking for a charger. My phone was dying and I was waiting for a call about a potential project at work. I'd rummaged through the usual spots, the drawer in the kitchen, the coffee table, her nightstand. Nothing. Then I remembered she sometimes left her work laptop bag in the spare bedroom, the one we designated as her home office before the house renovation really kicked into high gear. I opened the bag, a familiar scent of leather and a hint of her perfume hitting me. And there, tucked into a side pocket, was her tablet. It wasn't her work tablet. It was older, sleeker. I recognized it immediately. It was the tablet I'd bought her for our 3rd anniversary, the one she'd loved for its drawing capabilities, but had stopped using because her new work machine was better. Curious, I picked it up. The screen was dark. I pressed the power button. It flickered to life, displaying a lock screen I didn't recognize. It wasn't a password. It was a pattern. She never used patterns. She hated them. I tried a few common ones. A square, a zigzag, nothing. Then, a thought. A stupid, ridiculous thought that my gut instantly rejected, but my brain, ever the rational engineer, couldn't quite dismiss. I remembered a conversation we'd had weeks ago, late at night, about the wedding seating chart. She'd been agonizing over who sat where. It's like a puzzle, she'd said, a social experiment. She'd even made a joke about wanting to see how the dynamics would play out. At the time, I'd laughed it off. But now, I traced a pattern on the screen. A rough outline of the ballroom layout for the reception, with the main table at the top, and then sections radiating outwards. It wasn't perfect, but it was close. The tablet unlocked. The home screen was a mess of icons I'd never seen before. Bright, garish colors, things like bet now, live odds, predict the outcome. My stomach clenched. I tapped one, the nuptial nexus. The app opened to a live feed. It looked like some kind of sophisticated betting platform, but instead of horses or sports teams, the participants were people, or rather events related to people. My blood ran cold. There, in bold letters, was Liam and Sarah's wedding, and underneath a series of categories, each with a current betting pool and a list of available outcomes. My heart hammered against my ribs. I scrolled down, my fingers trembling. Wedding vows, sincerity level, potential for first dance awkwardness, groom's father's speech, humor quotient. This was insane. This had to be a joke, a really, really sick joke. I kept scrolling, my vision blurred, the words swimming on the screen. Then I saw it, a category that made my breath hitch. Liam's reaction to the real honeymoon destination reveal. And under that, the current odds were heavily skewed towards shocked disappointment. The honeymoon, that was another thing. Sarah had insisted on keeping it a surprise, a big reveal at the reception. She'd been cagey about the details, only dropping hints that it would be something unforgettable. I'd pictured a beach, maybe Hawaii, a classic romantic getaway. But the betting app, it suggested something else, something she was deliberately hiding, something she was betting on me hating. I scrolled further, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the tablet. More categories. Sarah's maid of honor speech, emotional impact versus embarrassment, cake cutting, neatness factor, post-wedding argument, probability and duration. It wasn't just about the wedding. It was about our entire marriage. She was turning our lives into a damn casino. She was taking the most intimate, personal moments of our future and commodifying them for strangers to bet on. And the worst part, the sheer unadulterated horror of it, the outcomes were being determined in real time by them, the anonymous masses. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me.
I stumbled back from the table, my hand flying to my mouth. This wasn't a joke. This was a betrayal of a magnitude I couldn't even comprehend. How long had this been going on? Weeks? Months? Had she been logging in during our date nights? While I was sleeping? While I was telling her I loved her? I looked at the tablet again, the glowing screen mocking me with its cold, objective data. The odds, the predictions. She'd taken all the uncertainty, all the beautiful, terrifying unknown of a new marriage, and she'd handed it over to a digital roulette wheel. And she'd bet against us, against me. My mind raced. The late nights, the hushed phone calls, the times she'd suddenly gone quiet when I entered the room. The little smiles. They weren't happiness. They were the fleeting, guilty pleasure of a secret transaction. She was addicted to it, wasn't she? to the thrill of the gamble, the power of shaping perceptions, of knowing or thinking she knew what would happen. I stumbled out of the spare room, the tablet clutched in my hand like a poisonous snake. I needed air. I needed to think. I walked out the back door, into the cool night, and down to my truck. I'd driven around aimlessly for an hour, trying to process this, trying to make sense of it. But there was no sense to be made. I remembered a conversation a few weeks ago. We were at a friend's engagement party. Everyone was excited, talking about their futures, their dreams. Sarah had been unusually quiet. When I'd asked her what was wrong, she just shrugged and said, "It's all so predictable, isn't it?" At the time, I thought she was just being cynical. But now I knew. Predictable to her meant this. A game. A way to spice things up. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. The leather felt rough, familiar. This truck had been with me through so much. College, my first real job, the move to the suburbs. It was a constant in my life, a reliable presence. Unlike Sarah. I opened the betting app again. I needed to see more. I needed to understand the scope of this charade. I navigated back to the main page. There were other events listed. The Millennial Home Ownership Lottery, the gig economy gamble. It wasn't just our wedding. It was a whole ecosystem of shared anxieties and aspirations, all turned into a betting commodity. And then I saw it. A category I hadn't noticed before, hidden away, almost an afterthought. Liam's future infidelity likelihood. My breath caught in my throat. I stared at the screen, my vision swimming. The odds were surprisingly low, almost dismissive, as if it was an absurd proposition, as if I was the stable one, the one incapable of straying. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. "Oh, Sarah, you have no idea. You've been so busy crowdsourcing our own marriage, you've completely missed the real story unfolding right under your nose."
You've been so focused on the bets, on the odds, on the anonymous validation from strangers, you've completely forgotten about the human being sitting right next to you. The one whose heart you've just shattered into a million pieces. I looked at the house, the dark windows, the quiet facade. It looked so normal, so peaceful, a perfect picture of suburban bliss. But I knew what was inside. A woman who had turned our most sacred commitments into a sideshow, a financial gamble. A woman who had bet on my disappointment before we'd even said, "I do." I started the engine. The rumble of the V8 was a comforting, familiar sound. I needed to get away. I needed to clear my head. I needed to figure out how I was going to confront her, how I was going to unspool this entire twisted narrative she'd woven around us. The real-time betting app, the crowdsourced decisions, my fiancé. As I pulled away from the curb, the house shrinking in my rearview mirror, a single chilling thought echoed in the cavernous space of my mind. What if the biggest gamble she'd made was on the fact that I would never find out? And what if she was wrong? The road ahead felt long, dark, and uncertain. And for the first time in 6 years, I felt utterly, terrifyingly alone. The ignition turned over with a familiar groan, the F-150's engine a low growl that seemed to vibrate through my very bones. It was a comforting sound, a reliable anchor in a sea of disbelief and gut-wrenching betrayal. I drove, not really knowing where I was going, just needing to put distance between myself and that house, that life that had suddenly imploded. The suburban streets were quiet, houses dark and silent, each one a miniature monument to a reality that felt increasingly alien. My mind was a frantic, tangled mess. Sarah, the wedding, the app. It was all so surreal, like I'd woken up in some twisted movie. I kept replaying the moment I'd unlocked the tablet, the sheer audacity of it, the nuptial nexus, live odds,
Liam's reaction to the real honeymoon destination reveal. That one still sent a shiver down my spine. What was she planning? Why the secrecy? And why was she betting on me being disappointed? It wasn't just about the wedding itself, was it? It was about us, our entire future, reduced to a series of quantifiable, bettable events. The thought of strangers, faceless entities on the other side of a screen, dissecting and predicting the most intimate moments of my life, of our life, made my stomach churn. My fingers, still stiff and shaky, tapped at my own phone screen. I'd downloaded the app herself. I needed to see more. I needed to understand the depth of this rabbit hole. I'd found it buried under a folder labeled Client Mockups. Professionalism as a cover. The app itself was slick, almost too slick. The interface was a dizzying kaleidoscope of flashing lights and betting slips. I scrolled through the categories. The wedding reception, dance floor energy levels.
Groomsman's toast, cringe factor. Bride's family dinner, awkward silences count. It was like she was running a real-time sociological experiment, and everyone was a player. Everyone but me, or so I thought. Then I saw it. A section I'd somehow missed. A single entry, almost an afterthought. Liam's response to Sarah's long-term secret. And under it, the options. Outrage, devastation, resignation, blind acceptance. The odds were heavily favoring blind acceptance. A cold knot formed in my stomach. What secret? She'd been so secretive lately, always deflecting, always changing the subject. I'd attributed it to wedding stress, to the overwhelming demands of her job. But this was different. This implied a secret that was significant, something she was anticipating my negative reaction to. And she was betting that I'd just accept it. That I'd be too much of a pushover, too afraid of rocking the boat to actually react. The sheer arrogance, the condescension, it was almost too much to bear. She'd been so busy curating the perfect narrative for these online gamblers, she hadn't even considered the narrative unfolding right in front of her, the one where I was the unwitting protagonist in her bizarre digital drama. I pulled into a dimly lit all-night diner, the kind with vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like it had been brewed sometime last week. The fluorescent lights hummed, casting a sickly glow on the chipped formica tables. The smell of stale coffee and fried onions hung heavy in the air. I slid into a booth, the worn vinyl creaking under my weight. I needed caffeine. I needed to stay awake. I needed to think. My mind kept drifting back to her. Sarah, the woman I was going to marry, the woman I'd shared every late-night confession with, every silly dream, every fear. Was any of it real? Had she been playing me all along? Had the nuptial nexus been her confidant, her therapist, her validation system? I remembered that night, a few weeks ago. We were watching a movie, curled up on the couch. She'd gotten a text, and her face had gone utterly blank for a second. Then a little flutter of something, excitement, triumph, had crossed her features before she'd quickly masked it. I asked if everything was okay. She just smiled that tight practice smile and said, "Just a client thing. They're being ridiculous." Ridiculous. Was that what she thought of me? Of us? As a source of ridiculousness, something to be gamified and bet upon? The waitress, a woman with tired eyes and a name tag that read Brenda, shuffled over. "What can I get for you, hun?" "Just coffee," I managed, my voice rough. "Black." She nodded, a flicker of concern in her eyes that I quickly dismissed. Nobody could possibly see the storm raging inside me. I was a master of poker faces after all. A skill I'd honed in countless corporate meetings. A skill I now realized I'd been unknowingly practicing at home for years.
I pulled up the betting app again. I scrolled back to the Liam's response to Sarah's long-term secret category. I stared at the odds. Blind acceptance at 65%, devastation at 20%, outrage at 10%, resignation at 5%. It was a dismissal, a calculated assumption of my passivity. She'd underestimated me. She'd assumed I was too invested, too comfortable, too me, to ever truly disrupt her game. And that was the real insult. Not the betting, not the secret, but the fact that she believed I was incapable of a genuine emotional response that wasn't pre-approved or factored into her betting algorithm. I ordered a burger, barely tasting it when it arrived. My mind was miles away, dissecting every interaction, every ambiguous look, every unexplained absence. Was her long-term secret, Something about her past? A debt? A relationship? The possibilities swirled, each one more chilling than the last. And the app, with its cold, statistical probabilities, was offering a disturbing roadmap of her expectations. I thought about her friends. Had they known? Had they been in on this? It felt like a conspiracy, a betrayal that extended beyond just her and me. I remembered a few weeks ago, at a casual get-together with some of our mutual friends, Sarah had excused herself to take a call. When she came back, she'd been unusually animated, a little too bright. She'd mentioned something about a big win. At the time, I'd assumed she meant at work, a successful pitch or a project completion. Now I knew. She wasn't talking about work. She was talking about a bet. My hands were clenched so tightly around my coffee mug, my knuckles were white. I felt a surge of anger, hot and raw, building in my chest. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the manipulative, calculated nature of it. She hadn't just cheated, she turned our entire relationship into a twisted performance art piece, and I was the unwilling star. I needed to know, I needed to confront her. But how? How do you confront someone who had meticulously crafted a digital facade, a sophisticated lie, to shield themselves from reality? How do you break through layers of deception that were so deeply ingrained they'd become her second nature? I took a deep breath, trying to rein in the rising panic. I couldn't just burst into the house screaming accusations. I needed a plan. I needed leverage. I needed to understand the full extent of her game before I made a move. I opened the app again, my fingers flying across the screen. I looked for any indication of who else was involved. Were there other players? Other couples? Other secrets? The app was designed for anonymity, for quick, anonymous transactions. The only information available was the event itself, the potential outcomes, and the odds. It was a black box of intrigue. Then, a notification popped up on my phone. A text message from Sarah. "Hey, still up? Can't sleep. Thinking about you. Love you." My heart did a strange, sickening flip.
Love you. Such a simple phrase, so loaded with meaning. And now, so utterly tainted. I stared at the message, the glowing words mocking me with their apparent sincerity. I typed back, my fingers deliberately slow, each word a tiny, calculated step. "Can't sleep either. Got some stuff on my mind." Her reply was almost immediate. "Oh? Anything I can help with? Want to talk?" The offer to talk, to engage, to pretend everything was normal. It was the ultimate irony. She wanted to talk, knowing what she'd been doing, knowing the secrets she was hiding, and assuming I'd just accepted. I hesitated. This was my chance. This was the opening I'd been looking for. But the thought of her face, the innocent facade she would put on, the way she would twist my words, made me recoil. I needed more proof. I needed something undeniable. Something that would shatter her carefully constructed world. I went back to the tablet, to the nuptial nexus. I scrolled through the event logs. Transactions, dates, times. And then I saw it. A recent entry, logged about an hour before I'd found the tablet. Event. Liam's discovery of the nuptial nexus. Outcome? Panic and confusion. Odds? 92% probability. She had predicted this. She had actually bet on me finding out. And she'd been right. She'd been right about my reaction. The sheer, cold calculation of it all. She hadn't just created a betting platform. She'd created a predictive model of my emotional responses. My hands started to shake again. This wasn't just a game anymore. This was a war. And she had already laid out her strategy. She knew I would find out. She knew I would be confused and panicked. And she had bet on it. But she hadn't bet on the anger. The burning, righteous anger that was starting to eclipse the confusion. The rage that was simmering just beneath the surface, threatening to erupt.
I looked at my phone. At her text message. "Wanna talk?" I typed back, my fingers moving with a new, dangerous certainty. "Yeah, I think we do. Meet me at the old bridge by the reservoir. We need to talk. Alone." The old bridge. A place where we'd had some of our most significant conversations. A place that felt both nostalgic and now strangely foreboding. I needed to choose the battlefield. I needed to control the narrative. Just this once. As I put the phone down, my heart pounded in my chest. I knew, with a chilling certainty, that this conversation was going to change everything. It wasn't just going to be about the app. It was going to be about the secret. Her secret. And I had a feeling that whatever she was hiding, it was going to be far worse than I could ever imagine. The odds, I suspected, were about to shift. Dramatically. The F-150 idled. The engines rumble a low thrum against the silence that had descended like a shroud. I sat there, the cold glow of my phone, illuminating the damp, cracked asphalt of the diner parking lot.
The text message, so innocuous in its phrasing, felt like a venomous snake coiled around my gut. "Want to talk?" Of course she wanted to talk. She wanted to gauge and damage, to see how much she'd overestimated my ability to just roll over. She wanted to manage the fallout, not because she cared about me, but because it would impact her meticulously constructed game. The old bridge. I'd chosen it for a reason. It was neutral ground, but more importantly, it was isolated. No witnesses, no escape routes. Just the two of us, the dark water, and whatever poison she was about to spill. My mind raced, replaying fragments of conversations, trying to pinpoint the exact moment when the cracks had appeared, when the illusion of our perfect life had begun to splinter. Was it when she started working late more often? The vague excuses about demanding clients? The way she'd flinch slightly when I'd casually touch her shoulder, as if I were an unwelcome intrusion? I'd brushed it all off. Wedding jitters, career stress. I'd been so blinded by the future we were building, by the image of us that we presented to the world, that I'd failed to see the rot setting in beneath the surface. The Nuptial Nexus app was just the symptom, the grotesque manifestation of something far more deeply broken. I thought about the long-term secret. What could it be? Something she was ashamed of? Something that would fundamentally alter my perception of her? The odds on the app, the way they'd factored my presumed blind acceptance, felt like a direct insult. She thought I was weak. She thought I was a doormat. She thought I'd swallow anything just to keep the peace, just to maintain the comfortable facade of our life. And the worst part? For a long time, maybe I had. Maybe I prioritized harmony over honesty, comfort over confrontation. Maybe that was the real secret she was counting on, my own inherent flaw, my own complicity in this elaborate charade. The air in the truck cab was thick with the smell of stale coffee and the metallic tang of my own fear. I couldn't shake the image of her face, the serene mask she wore so effortlessly. Had any of it been real? The laughter, the whispered promises, the shared dreams under a canopy of stars? Or was it all just part of the performance, the carefully orchestrated backstory for the gamblers placing their bets? The thought sent a fresh wave of nausea through me. I'd always prided myself on my intuition, my ability to read people. But with Sarah, I'd been utterly, spectacularly wrong. I started the engine, the growl a low, menacing sound that mirrored the turbulence within me. The drive to the reservoir was a blur of streetlights and passing cars, each one a reminder of the normal lives I was so desperately trying to hold on to, lives that felt increasingly out of reach. The reservoir itself was a vast, inky expanse under the moonlight, the water still and silent, reflecting the distant stars like scattered diamonds.
The old bridge, a weathered concrete structure, loomed ahead, its silhouette stark against the night sky. It was a place of memories, of first kisses and solemn vows made under the summer sun. Now, it felt like a gallows. I parked the truck a little way down the access road, the crunch of gravel under the tires unnervingly loud. The air was cooler here, carrying the faint scent of pine and damp earth. I got out, my legs feeling stiff and unsteady. The silence was profound, broken only by the distant chirping of crickets
and the soft lapping of water against the shore. I walked towards the bridge, my footsteps echoing on the concrete. And then I saw her. Standing at the railing, a solitary figure bathed in the moonlight. Her back was to me, her shoulders slightly hunched. She looked smaller, somehow, more vulnerable than I'd ever seen her. For a fleeting moment, the anger receded, replaced by a flicker of the old tenderness, the man who had fallen head over heels for this woman. But it was a fragile thing, easily shattered by the memories of the app, the bets, the condescension. I stopped a few feet away, letting the silence stretch, allowing the weight of the moment to settle. She finally turned, her eyes wide, searching my face in the dim light. There was a flicker of something in them. Fear? Guilt? Or was it just the reflected moonlight? "Liam," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "You came. You asked me to," I replied, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. It was a defense mechanism, a way to keep the raw nerves from fraying. She hugged herself, her gaze dropping to the dark water below. It's cold out here." "It is," I agreed. "We have a lot to talk about, Sarah." She nodded, a small, jerky movement. "I know." I walked closer, standing beside her at the railing, the space between us charged with unspoken accusations. "The app, Sarah. The nuptial nexus. What was that all about?" Her shoulders tensed. She didn't answer, her gaze fixed on the water. The silence stretched, taut and suffocating. "Sarah," I said, my voice rising slightly, the carefully constructed calm beginning to crack. "Answer me. What the hell was that?" She took a shaky breath. It started as a joke, a way to de-stress. My job is so high pressure. My clients are always betting on outcomes, on market fluctuations. I got this idea, a way to channel that energy, that competitive spirit, into something fun. "Fun," I echoed, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. "Betting on our wedding, on my reactions, on our life. How is that fun, Sarah?" She finally looked at me, her eyes pleading. "It wasn't about us, Liam. Not really. It was about the game, the thrill of it. It was completely separate." "Separate?" I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound that echoed across the water. "You think this was separate? You put odds on Liam's reaction to the real honeymoon destination reveal. You put odds on my reaction to your long-term secret."
You were betting on me being disappointed, on me being manipulated. How is that separate, Sarah? How does that not involve me and us and everything we've built? Tears welled in her eyes, tracing paths down her cheeks. I didn't think you'd ever find out. I thought I was so careful. Careful? My anger flared, hot and immediate. You were arrogant. You were condescending. You assumed I was too dumb, too passive, too in love to ever question you. You assumed I'd just accept whatever you threw at me. That's what those odds were, weren't they? A testament to your belief in my weakness. She flinched as if I'd struck her. That's not true, Liam. I love you. Love me? The word was a sharp jab. Is this what your love looks like? Deceit, manipulation, turning our entire relationship into a commodity to be gambled on by strangers? It wasn't like that, she cried, her voice breaking. It was just a way to feel in control. My job is chaotic. My life sometimes feels like it's spinning out of control. The app, it was the one thing I felt I could control. The outcomes, the bets, the probabilities. It was my escape. And what about my reality, Sarah? Did that factor into your escape? Or was I just another variable in your equation? Another piece in your twisted little game? I took a step closer, my voice dropping to a low, dangerous intensity. What's the secret, Sarah? The one you were betting on me accepting. What is it? She looked away again, her gaze darting nervously. It's complicated. Complicated? I pressed. Try me. You've had weeks, months to plan your bets. You've had plenty of time to anticipate my reactions. Now it's my turn. Tell me. She hesitated, then whispered. It's not what you think. Then what is it?
My patience was fraying, the raw edges of my betrayal cutting deep. The app said long-term secret, and the odds were heavily in favor of blind acceptance. You really thought I'd just shrug it off? You really thought I was that pathetic? A sob escaped her. I'm in debt, Liam. A lot of debt, from before I met you. Student loans, credit cards, it just piled up. I've been trying to manage it, to pay it down, but it's overwhelming. I didn't want you to know. I didn't want you to see me as damaged or a failure. The confession hung in the air, heavy and unexpected. Debt. It wasn't a scandalous affair, not a hidden past life. It was financial ruin, and her shame, her fear of my judgment, had led her down this path of elaborate deception. Debt? I repeated, the word feeling foreign. I'd always assumed she was financially secure, her successful career a testament to that. How much debt, Sarah? She swallowed hard, her eyes fixed on the ground. Tens of thousands, maybe more. My mind reeled. Tens of thousands. And she'd been hiding it all this time, while we planned a wedding, while we talked about buying a house, about starting a family.
The deception wasn't about a lack of love, but a suffocating fear of judgment, of inadequacy. And the app? I asked, my voice softer now, the anger slowly receding, replaced by a profound sense of sadness. Was that about the debt? She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I used some of the money from the bets to try and pay it down, just small amounts at first, but then it became a habit. The thrill of winning, the hope that I could make it all disappear. It was a stupid, dangerous addiction, and I was so afraid you'd find out. Not just about the bets, but about the debt. I was so afraid you'd leave me. She looked at me then, her gaze raw and pleading. I didn't want to lose you, Liam. I was so scared of disappointing you, of being judged, so I tried to control everything. I tried to create a narrative where I was in control, where I was successful, where I was worthy of you. And the app, it was just a way to pretend I had it all figured out. The revelation was like a punch to the gut, but not in the way I'd expected. It wasn't the shock of betrayal that hit me hardest, but the crushing weight of her fear, her desperation. She hadn't been playing a game out of malice, but out of a profound insecurity, a deep-seated fear of not being good enough. So all those bets, I started, my voice thick with emotion. The ones where I was supposed to be disappointed or angry, you were betting on me finding out and reacting badly, weren't you? Because you thought that's what I would do. She nodded, her face buried in her hands. I anticipated your worst, because I was afraid of my own worst. I was afraid of what you would think of me, and I was wrong. I was so wrong. I stood there for a long moment, the silence broken only by the gentle lapping of the water and Sarah's quiet sobs. The anger that had consumed me earlier had dissipated, replaced by a hollow ache. The picture I had of our relationship, of her, had been shattered, but not in the jagged shards of betrayal I'd anticipated. It was more like a mosaic, suddenly rearranged, revealing a more complex, more human and more heartbreaking image. She hadn't been a master manipulator, but a woman drowning in fear and shame, making terrible choices to cope. The app, the bets, the deception, they were all outward manifestations of an internal struggle I hadn't seen. I'd been so focused on her actions, on the hurt they caused me, that I'd failed to look at the woman beneath them, the woman who was clearly terrified. "Sarah," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "look at me." She slowly lowered her hands, her eyes red and swollen, her face etched with a pain I now understood. I don't know what to say," I admitted, the confession feeling like a surrender. "I'm hurt. Of course I'm hurt. What you did was wrong. It was a massive breach of trust. But I see why you did it. Or I think I see." A flicker of hope, fragile and uncertain, appeared in her eyes.
The debt, I continued, choosing my words carefully. That's a serious problem. And the gambling, that's a serious problem too. But we can deal with that, together. She looked at me, bewildered, tears still clinging to her lashes. Together? After all this?
Yes, I said, the conviction growing within me, a new, unexpected resolve. Because I still love you, Sarah. Maybe not the Sarah I thought I knew, but the real Sarah. The one who's terrified, the one who's made mistakes, the one who's drowning in debt and shame. That's the woman I fell in love with, and I'm not ready to let go of her. Not yet. I reached out, tentatively, and took her hand. Her skin was cold, her fingers trembling. It wasn't the passionate embrace I might have envisioned in a moment of reconciliation, but a quiet, tentative connection, a bridge built over a chasm of deception. We have a lot of work to do, I said, my voice firm but gentle. We need to face this debt. We need to get you help for the gambling, and we need to rebuild trust. That's going to take time. It's not going to be easy. There's no guarantee it will work. She squeezed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. I know, but I want to try. God, Liam, I want to try. We stood there for a long time, hand in hand, the moonlight painting silver streaks on the water. The secrets had been laid bare, the facade shattered, and the raw, messy truth of our relationship exposed. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, not by a long shot. It was the beginning of something far more difficult, far more honest, and perhaps, in its own flawed way, far more real. The odds had shifted, not on a betting app, but in the landscape of my own heart. And for the first time since I'd unlocked that tablet, a fragile, uncertain sense of peace settled over me, like the first hint of dawn after a long, dark night. This was the aftermath, and the work was just beginning.